we have the August paper pumpkin kit here. So spoiler alert, and people should be receiving their kits by now, but these are the original paper pumpkin cards for August. I just wanted to set these out to start so that you can get a feel for this kit. Welcome, my name is Melinda Hart. You are watching Stamping with Hart. You can find more information about the projects that I make on my blog at www.stampingwithhart.blogspot.com, and I'll put that information up on the screen in the replay. Okay, so I'm not going to recreate the original cards. Paper pumpkin, they have instructions as to how you can make these. They were so easy, so beautiful, this kit. Oh my gosh, if you guys got the August paper pumpkin kit, let me know in the comments. It is stunning. The artwork is stunning. I am going to go through the contents of the box. Usually I jump right into the alternate, but I just really want to show you what we're working with here because it's gorgeous, and I did not have time to make more than just the alternate box. This is what we're going to make tonight on the live, this one here. So we're going to recreate this, and then what I would like to do is make a card that coordinates with it. Here's something that I want to go through first. This is an insert that came with the paper pumpkin kit for August. They are giving us a heads up as to what is coming over the next 3 months. So this is a great time to subscribe to Paper Pumpkin. You have options as to how you can subscribe. But if you are a holiday crafter and you know you're going to be, interested in the next 3 kits, which they're giving us a sneak peek of, this is a gift to be able to see this, because you can get a 3-month prepaid subscription now. If you do that before August 31st, you will qualify for free Sale-a-Bration rewards. So it's a great time to do that. If anybody's interested, you can either direct message me, I can send you a link, or you can go to stampinup.com and you can order it that way. But it's such a great time. We have a look at 2 Christmas sets here, and then we have the paper pumpkin for September, which is going to be coming next month. So I am so thrilled about this. If you guys want me to get into very specific details about why paper pumpkin is so great, just let me know. I'm not going to go deep dive into that right now, but if it comes up in comments or if you have questions, I will be happy to answer those. Okay. All right. So here, they're saying, make the most of your free gift for paper pumpkin. Here's why I'm mentioning this. Because this is difficult to cut with a paper trimmer. If you have a little guillotine trimmer or even a large guillotine trimmer, I would think that this would cut a little cleaner. But what you see them doing is sort of almost like zigzag cutting here with their paper snips. And the reason for that is because you can get a very clean cut. So I did want to point that out because I was working on this myself. And I was very quick to discover that that was happening. But they give you the instructions right here for an alternate project. And I just think that that is so fantastic with the free gift, which we'll get into in just a minute. They're calling it the gold foil honeycomb sheets. I wasn't sure what to call it before, so I don't know if I missed what that was called, but we have it here. So wanted to mention that first. Okay, I am going to go through the kit. I hope you guys don't mind. So, and I'm going to go through alternate colors too. All right, let me see. Let me see if I can get to the front and the back, because you guys know I always mention this. There are instructions that come in every box. You can see right on the front, like showstopper. Okay. On the back, I always point out, if you are new to Paper Pumpkin, if you've gotten 150 Paper Pumpkin kits, check your inventory. Just make sure that everything looks good and that you have everything that you need for your kit. It doesn't take long. It's just a great way to check your kit components. And if you aren't sure what came in the kit, it will tell you. It's for 9 cards and 9 envelopes this month. And then here are the coordinating colors. There are a lot in this kit, so let me show you them. Okay, so here is the coordinating color. I used the stamp from the center of the sunflower and just all of the different colors so I could kind of fit it on one sheet. But just so that you can get a feel for the color palette here, we're working with crushed curry, soft suede, pumpkin pie. How surprising is melon mambo? And it's all over this kit. It's so cute. Night of navy, evening evergreen, one of my top colors. Mossy Meadow, and Blackberry Bliss. So that is quite the variety of coordinating colors here. So even if you only have one or two, different color cardstocks, maybe you don't have all the colors yet, you should be fine, because this is quite the selection of colors here. And you can see why with the artwork on their kits. Now, here is the other thing that I wanted to do, just in case anybody is interested in this. So the color that comes in the kit, actually, there are two colors that come in the kit, Crushed Curry and Soft Suede. But I also just wanted to see what the sunflowers look like in our other yellows. So here is listen to me. So Saffron, Daffodil Delight, and then Crushed Curry. So you can just see that the kind of just steps up in that color there. And then in terms of the browns, just depending on what you have in your collection or what you might want to use, here is Sahara Sand, Crumb Cake, Soft Suede, and Early Espresso. Look at the difference there. So if you're trying to plan out a color palette, if you're planning out alternate projects, this is just a great little chart to create for yourself. And the one thing that I will always tell people, especially if you're new to doing alternate projects with Paper Pumpkin, the most important thing that you could do is just start stamping with the stamp set, and the ideas will start coming to you. And let me show you what the stamp set looks like. So here's the stamp set here. Okay, and we have quite a few different sentiments here. So we have thank you, wishing you so much happiness, for a one-of-a-kind friend. I love this one. Hello. And then we have our leaf, our center, and our flower for our sunflower. And then we have this little, I guess for like the baby sunflowers, like the artwork that they have here, the little purple Blackberry Bliss kind of pops of color is what I'm imagining this stamp is right here. And then we have two different bees in different positions, one at the side and one looking sort of straight down on the bee. And the reason that I wanted to mention that is because we have die cut bees. Let me see if I can find them and not, I'm going to set the stamp set here so I do not lose it. Okay, so let me grab the bees. They got to be right here somewhere. Here. Okay, I just needed to start grabbing the pieces of my kit. So let's go over these really quickly. These die cut bees are in two different directions. So just so that you know, because when you start looking at the instructions for your Paper Pumpkin kit, you'll see that they're in both directions, and you guys can see I've already dug in on this. It doesn't take long, I can tell you. But we have all of these different beautiful, actually colored die cut pieces for our sentiments. It's just so pretty. And then you get to use each one on the original cards. We have this little accent piece here. This one goes with these. We have these vellum honeycombs. So we have those. I think that those are so beautiful. And then we have these. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's the card right there. And this is one of the original cards. It's you don't even need to do anything with it. It's so beautiful. And then of course, for alternates, I can't imagine a demonstrator who isn't going to cut these up. There's so much to use here. So we certainly are going to be cutting it up. And then here are those free gift honeycomb foil sheets. Okay. And how stunning are they? So you can either use it as a full sheet or cut them up. And then here are our card bases. So you can see this, and let me fold it so you guys can see the actual score line on it. Is that, I mean, it's like they just printed the painting, but so beautiful. Okay, so we have that one. We have this one. And I swear these were designed for alternates in mind, because we can cut these into, 6 separate panels. And then we have this sort of more solid green card base here, but really, really useful. So I'm only going to need this one for this particular project. But hopefully I'll get to make some more alternates later. And then the other thing I didn't mention, of course, was our 2 Stampin' Spots. So you get 2 Stampin' Spots in this month's kit. Sorry about the ink on my fingers there. Okay, I'm going to use my full-size ink pads for tonight, but just so that you know, that we have those. Okay, so I am going to set these aside because we're going to need some pieces for our alternate. So let me just show these one more time. So these are the original Paper Pumpkin cards. You can see just very simple pops right on here. Just, I think, 4 pieces total. And then here is another one. So nice. I mean, honestly, the original cards are so nice. You don't even need to do alternates with it. And then here's the other. Okay. And so now we'll get into our alternate project. And I appreciate you all hanging in there with me on that. So let me get the box that we're going to be using tonight. Let me get that first. Okay, so we're going to use the Scalloped Craft Treat boxes. These are food safe. These are a nice size. You get 8 of them in a set. They already have pops of gold foil on them, but let me get these out. So we're going to use a top piece and a bottom piece, of course. There we go. It almost looks like a coffee cup holder before it's folded. All right, and then I'm also going to be incorporating, let me say it now so I don't forget, this ribbon that I just used on my last project too, because I'm like in that mode, natural finish ribbon. So I'm going to set that just right here. You can ignore these dies. We're not going to be using them in this project. That was for something else that I used. We are going to be using one of these gold foil sheets. I'm going to be bringing in Blackberry Bliss cardstock. Okay, so I'm just going to get a sheet of this. All right, and then let's go ahead and get our envelope. So we are going to cut up an envelope and part of a card. And I actually have the 1/2 of the card, so we're going to use the other half for this side. Just maximizing, you know, just maximizing our pieces from our Paper Pumpkin kit. I don't know if refills will be available for this kit. I can't imagine that they won't be. I have a feeling this is going to be extremely popular for refills. So when that does become available, I will let you guys know. So here's the first thing we're going to do. The first thing we're going to do is we're just going to start cutting our pieces. And we're actually going to stay pretty close to the Paper Pumpkin design for the topper of our box. And just let me show this in a little more detail here. So all 4 sides have been decorated, okay? And then we have our topper here. Sorry, I gotta glue this piece on a little better. Okay, so that's for our topper piece. And it's fun with the gift boxes and things because you can get a little bit more ambitious with your ribbon because it's a gift box, of course. So I'm gonna set these 2 aside and let's go ahead and start cutting. So let me get you the measurements on our box, and then I'll get you the measurements for our layering pieces. Okay, so for the side panels, the full box size is 2.5 by 3.5, and we're going to do that times 4. So for this piece, we're going to do 2 by 3, okay? And then we're just going to go a quarter size up. So 2.25 by 3.25. So we need 4 of these at 2 by 3, 4 of the Blackberry Bliss panels at 2.25 by 3.25. And then we'll do a square for our topper, and I'll get you the measurements on that too. I think it's 3.5 for the box. Let's see. Yeah. 3.5. So 3.5 by 3.5. So we'll do a 3-inch square, and then we'll do a 3.25 inch square for the top, and then we'll do our little decorative pieces. So let's go ahead and start cutting for those. All right, so I'm just going to do my traditional A2. So I'm going to go to 4.25, and we're going to score it. And then we'll cut at 5.5 in the other direction. Oops, sorry about that. Bumpy, bumpy. Okay, and then I'll set these aside. We'll come back to that in a minute. And now we're gonna start cutting up one of our envelopes. So we'll start there. And the way that I like to cut up my envelopes, let me see. So if you look at the back, I mean, just about every inch of this envelope is useful, in my opinion. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it very narrowly, just no specific measurement. I'm literally just trying to trim off the edges here. And this is something that I typically do if an envelope has a pretty liner. In this case, it's the outside of the envelope that is just stunning. And let me know if you guys decorate your envelopes. Do you stamp your envelopes? I'm really curious. Okay. Let me just trim here. So just taking those little edges off. And then we come up with a strip like this. So we know that we need the 2-inch measurement here. So I'm going to follow this 2-inch line just straight down. So even though this kind of crops in, it's all right. So I'm just going to cut straight down. Okay. We're going to do that again. So I'm going to go to the 2-inch here. And we're going to cut. This piece is under 2 inches. So I'm going to set this aside. We can certainly use that for something else. That's going to be useful. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to sort of get this rounded edge off here. So I'm just going to trim this little edge right here just to get it straight. Okay, and now we're going to start cutting our strips. So we need to, we have the 2-inch strip. Now we're going to cut by 3. So there's 1. 2. I'm going to trim this little edge off right here. Okay. And then on the other side, we're going to measure to 3. And that will save us from this little scored part right here. It's okay that this is plain because we have the stamps that we can use to decorate this. Okay, so we're gonna save that. And then I am going to cut another one. I'm going to get another one started because I know I'm going to use these pieces for other things, but I need a 4th piece. Now, if you don't want to cut up all of your envelopes, you could do this with one of the cards. If you like one of the patterns of the cards, just do that, right? But I am going to cut up another envelope. So hopefully you don't mind. I mean, it would be wonderful to send these envelopes just decorated and beautiful as is. Just keep in mind, you know, this is when we want to sort of play and we really want to extend the life of our kit. So if you want to just send the pretty envelope, do not feel guilty about that. That's what it's for. But there are so many things that we can do with these fabulous patterns. I mean, look at that. So gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the 2-inch mark here. And you can cut based on, you know, how much decoration you want on your piece. You can also cut this way. So if you want to cut from this side, I would say just cut right below or above the score line, and you can cut your panel this way. So let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to go with this straight edge first. Let's go to the 3-inch mark, and you can see this is kind of tapering in. So I'm going to go and I'm going to trim. I'm going to just follow this straight line here to keep it straight. And I'm going to trim that edge off. Okay. And then we're going to go to one of these lines, keep it straight. I don't want to cut the whole thing off, but I want to get it in a more straight line. So I'm going to trim it here. And hopefully that will still be 2 inches. I hope I'm not taking too much. Let's see. So if I go to the 3-inch mark here, we have a really nice decorated piece. So whichever way you want to cut your panels, totally fine. Save that for something else. This piece I'll get rid of. I don't think we need that. Okay. And so we have our 4 panel pieces. And we still have this full panel piece that we can use as a layer on another card. Okay, so we'll just leave that over there. And you guys can decide which one you like better in terms of the way that you cut them. All right, and then we're also going to need our decorative piece for the top of the card. You can use whichever piece you want. Okay, I'm going to switch in and out of voiceover on this video, just depending on the section that I'm in with the video. So this, of course, is the replay. And when I was cutting all of these down to size and assembling them, I just figured if this is a part that we can speed up a little bit. I absolutely love the size and the depth of these little gift boxes or treat boxes, just depending on what you plan on putting in there. I was saying in my live that this is a time of year, you know, summer and fall, that we get very busy. And in my family, at least, it's a big gifting time. You know, August, September, October, we have birthdays, several birthdays in our family each month, for each of those months. This is also back to school time. This is also, you know, a transitional time. So this is a great time to give people a gift like this, and you can fit a good amount of stuff in these boxes. Now here, what I'm doing is I'm decorating the panel from my envelope that I had cut that was plain. So I'm starting with my ink, and I'm going to finish with my Stampin' Blends. I did 2 versions of coloring the sunflowers in this particular video. This is the natural tone Stampin' Blend in 200 for the center of the flower, and then this is Daffodil Delight Dark. I'm using the bullet tip side of the marker. It's a dual-sided marker, and I'm going to use the brush tip, which is the wider tip, just to kind of fill in the rest of the leaves there. There's no special coloring here. It's really just about getting a yellow pop on these flowers. Our envelopes are a thinner paper material than our card bases. And I just want to point that out because whenever you're saturating envelope paper, it is much thinner. So this paper was actually a little bit damp when I was done coloring, and that was just to kind of give it that really saturated color there. But I didn't really do any particular blending or anything like that. These are for our decorative panels, of course. And then you can line these up, and they will line up with the polka dots that are on the box. So that's how you can kind of keep your panels straight. So I'm just using my multi-purpose glue for this. You can use whichever your favorite adhesive is for this particular gift box here. And you could use whatever color palette that you would want for your gift boxes as well. So we're going to assemble our lid here, and we're going to start to decorate this as well. Okay, so now we get to bring in this gold honeycomb. Oh my goodness. So I am going to cut it with the trimmer so that you can see what I'm talking about. Now, it's very well possible that there's a way to do this with the trimmer that isn't the way that I'm going to cut it. But if there is, I don't know. So I'm going to show you what happened to me, but what my solution was. So what I did was I went to the 3.5-inch mark because I knew I was trying to sort of size it somewhere between 3 and 3.25 was my ultimate layer here. So I cut it to 3.5 first. And even though I'm going to pull lightly, you can kind of hear it like making that little noise. You can see it kind of frays and pulls the edges. Now, is it a deal breaker? No, it's not a deal breaker. It would be fine. But I just letting you know that that can happen. So you might just want to use your snips. Now I'm still trying to kind of get down to that size here. So I'm just going to start trimming it a little bit because I can fix it with my scissors. But you can see the way that pulls. So what I would recommend is go with the straight edge sides at the top if you're going down with your trimmer, because this will hold it intact a little bit better than if it's cut like down here where it just got a little bit crunchy. But just so that you know that, that has the potential to happen. So I'm gonna continue trimming here. You could see it held better when I did it that way. The edges are still a little crooked, but it was better. Now, I don't want this thick line on here, so I'm going to trim that off too. And you can see I'm kind of right at the 3/4 inch mark right now. I'm going to hold it at the top as I cut. Just kind of holding it in place. And we can always use these pieces on something else. So I'm going to set those aside. I can tell you right now for the alternate card, I'm using the full panel because I think that's the easiest and it has the most impact. It's gorgeous. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of do what they recommended on their alternate project. And that is kind of zigzagging a little bit. I'm just going to put a little bit of seal in this corner because I know that's where my sunflower is going. So the stickiness that's going to come through this honeycomb here will be covered by the sunflower. Okay, so that's how I'm going to handle that. Okay, back to voiceover mode now. So I'm going to get my die cut pieces that we are going to use for the topper of our box. This alternate is actually staying very close to the paper pumpkin designs. It's just on the top of a treat box or on top of a gift box instead of on a card base. But we're using a lot of the elements from the kit here. We're not deviating too far from it. Now you can line this up. I think I said that earlier, but sometimes I'm a little impatient, and I knew that the size of the die cut was a little bit smaller than the actual stamp. So for me, it's not the biggest deal in the world if it's not a perfect lineup. But if you like a perfect lineup, maybe try the Stamparatus or just be a little more patient than I was. And now I'm going and adding in that color with the sponge daubers this time. So you can see the difference between the Stampin' Blends and the sponge dauber coloring. You can see which you like better. Or if you just want to leave it a stamped version and not do any coloring on your sunflowers, of course you have options there. I absolutely love the texture and the pop of shimmer that you get from those specialty honeycomb foil sheets, the gold foil sheets. And when I was putting all of these up on dimensionals, I wanted to get some overlap. Like I wanted that little flower and leaf die to come off of the panel there so that you could see it in that dimension. And I put the sunflower next to it. I used the friend sentiment because I just love that, especially on the gift box. And I wanted a big bow, and I had just used this ribbon on my pumpkin cards, and I can link to that if you're interested in seeing that. But I wanted to do a little bit of a smaller bow this time. But because this is a gift box, it just adds that extra touch. We have so much pattern and texture going on here, and I thought that it came together beautifully. So whoever receives this gift box from you is going to feel so special. I mean, you just don't see gift boxes like this, and to be able to create something like this with your paper pumpkin kit as an alternate is so great. I also wanted to mention that the tissue paper in this month's kit was that really rich crushed curry color. So you could cut that up and use that for the inside of your box with whatever the gift is. And we were coming up with ideas on the live as to what you could put in the box. And I was saying it would be really cute to do anything with a sunflower theme, like hand soaps or lotion, or if you would want to do like the bee theme and like a lip balm or lip gloss, or farm stand honey. There are so many different things that you could put inside their actual sunflower seeds, or if you like to bake, or if you're known for anything in particular, you could include that, right? Like honey biscuits or muffins or something like that. It's a food safe box, so you could do that too. Now, when I was cutting up these cardstock panels, I really wanted to try to preserve the artwork on the panel as much as possible. So I was kind of trimming away that blue space and leaving the watercolor painted imaging. And the other thing that I really wanted to do was I wanted that honeycomb to frame it in. I ended up going with putting it in the center of the card. I was really trying to decide how complicated or how many layers I wanted it to be. But when I'm designing on the fly and alive, it's very different than when I'm designing, on my own time and you guys aren't seeing what I'm doing on camera. It's very similar, but I tend to put a lot of layers on my projects. I just like a more layered look. And it just starts to happen as I'm designing my cards. And I loved the sunflower die cuts that were provided in the kit, but there weren't enough for me. I knew I was going to make more. And that's why I'm so glad that they provide the stamp set every month, because that allows us to make as many sunflowers as we want. So after I used up all of my die cut sunflowers, I started cutting and stamping my own. I had initially stamped a partial sunflower image on that layer, but something about the blending just didn't quite work. The sponge dauber that I was using was starting to fall apart, and there was this blue like watercolor pattern that was kind of turning my sunflower green. And I was trying to put more color on it to kind of stop that from happening. But what I ended up doing was covering it, because I just didn't really love the look. And that happens sometimes when you're creating a project and it's not quite going the way that you want. So I really stuck to the sponge dauber coloring, but you can see that my sponge dauber was sort of kind of coming apart when I was coloring with it. And the color, the way it was transferring wasn't as smooth as it could have been, because I no longer had like my sponge. They were kind of older. So after a while, you might want to replace your sponge daubers, but it was fine. I got through it. I'm not too particular when it comes to things like that. I used to be really a super perfectionist, but there's just not enough time in the day, right? We got to get our paper pumpkin projects done and on the go. So this is me fussy cutting. I was joking on the live and saying it's like cutting a bunch of V's, like the letter V, because you're just in and out, in and out, in and out, right? But look at that look. I love it so much. If you do not want to do that, if you are totally against fussy cutting, no problem. Just use one of your circle dies or punches. And you should be good to go. But you can see this is a good size flower. So just make sure you have a punch or, a die circle large enough for that, and just do layering circles instead of the specific flowers. That's all. But I did a trio of flowers, which to me started to look like a bouquet. And I was getting the big idea that I was going to put a bow at the bottom of my trio of flowers, like my bouquet. And you'll see in just a minute what happens. Now, with this panel, I really wanted to secure the four corners, because I didn't want it to come up or get caught on anything if somebody pulled it out of the envelope, right, and it just wasn't coming out right. So I just used the little glue dots that come inside the paper pumpkin kit in the four corners to secure it. There's so much drama with that layer. I really wanted the full pop of the whole layer, the whole honeycomb layer, right on that Blackberry Bliss card base, because it just pops, right? It's gorgeous. And when it ties in with the watercolor image from the card base, Now I'm bringing in my sentiment. I changed my sentiment. I didn't want to use the same friend one. So if it was going to coordinate, I thought, what if we say, thank you to, for a one of a kind friend. And then you can use them in combination, but you're using two different greetings or sentiments. So I used that Blackberry Bliss rectangle layering panel from the kit. And I also used the sentiment layer from the kit that has that sort of watercolor image. I stamped thank you in Blackberry Bliss. And now here I am, and I thought, you know what? I think I can get away with this. I think I can add this bow to my card as well, and it will really match the gift, the gift box. But as soon as I started as soon as I started messing with it and like putting it on my card base, I was asking the people who were there with me live what they thought, and everybody, I mean, it was a majority saying no, no. And you guys can let me know in the replay too, like what you think of that bow there. Is that like an absolute no? We really played around with it. We experimented with a bunch of different things, and that is what you do in the design process when you're making cards. So if you don't like the design process, stick with the paper pumpkin designs because they're gorgeous. If you do like playing around just like I do with these alternates, these are the iridescent rhinestones that I brought in for some sparkle. And we were still trying to decide on the bow. So people were asking me, well, maybe below the sentiment or maybe a thinner ribbon. And then somebody suggested, hey, what about, just doing like some twine underneath the thank you, like just twist it. Ultimately, we decided to leave well enough alone. The card is beautiful. It matches the gift box. So if you like Paper Pumpkin alternate videos, please let me know in the comments below if you would like to see another alternate video using the August 22 Paper Pumpkin Kit 2022. I would love to hear from you. When you like, comment, share, or subscribe, it tells YouTube and it tells me that you would like to see more videos like this one. It's so helpful to have your feedback, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Stay tuned for the next video. I have an entire playlist of Paper Pumpkin alternate videos. All right, see you next time.